What's up, guys? Welcome to Connor. I am Connor. UFC is heading to Qatar for the first time this weekend, a place that I didn't know existed until the UFC announced this card. As a stupid American, don't know many countries, so that's why we watch MMA for geography, so that I can learn more countries and just don't give a fuck about the fights. Dan Hooker taking on Armin Sarukian, co-main event. Ian Machado Gary taking on Bilal Muhammad. I think about that for a second. I was like, what the fuck is the co-main event? That's the co-main event. I couldn't remember the name. Good card, great card here, actually. I mean, probably the last great fight night we're getting this year. I know there's only 3 cards left, and it doesn't look like there's a fight night at Apex on December 13th. It doesn't look like that card's very good thus far. It's a cool main event, but the card's not very stacked, which is weird. The UFC typically makes like a really stacked fight night to end the year. I wonder if that's something to do with the ESPN deal ending soon, if the with the Paramount card happening soon, which it looks like we're not getting our first card for the Paramount card until all the way until January like 24th or whatever, which is we're gonna be dealing with like an 8-week gap in UFC events. Oof, that's rough. Anyways, guys, before we get into the full video here, please remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video, do all that fun shit. I very much appreciate it. All right, let's get into the breakdown here then, guys. Of course, in your main event, Armin Sarukian is taking on Dan Hooker. Armin Sarukian coming in at a minus 530. Dan Hooker coming in at plus 360. I want to sit here and I want to tell you that I believe in Dan Hooker and that Dan Hooker is going to wear down Armin Sarukian throughout the rounds. He's going to land a lot of body kicks. He's going to punch him in the face a fuck ton. He's going to defend takedowns. If he does get taken down, he's going to get up right away. And Dan Hooker is going to make this fight a scrap, and he's going to TKO Armin Sarukian in the fourth. That's what I want to tell you, but that's probably not what's going to happen. Armin Sarukian coming off that win over Charles Oliveira from way back at UFC 300. Both these guys going through a long layoff here, which is kind of fascinating when you think about this fight. Of course, that fight with Charles Oliveira, Armin Sarukian did win. A lot of people picked Charles in the decision, but that didn't end up happening. I think if I'm remembering right, I gave Armin Sarukian rounds like 1 and 3. Whatever round Charles had that really tight choke in was the round I think Armin lost. Nevertheless, here we are. Armin Sarukian, you probably remember, was supposed to fight Islam Makhachev way earlier this year. I believe on the first pay-per-view of 2025 back in January, and pulled out the day of or the day before due to a back injury of some sort. And here he is, has to earn his shot again against Dan Hooker, has to earn his chance at a UFC lightweight title shot once again. And they matched him up with Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker, of course, coming off the win over Mateus Gamrot from last year. Another long layoff. That was way back in August 2024, so less of a layoff than Armin Sarukian even. But was supposed to fight Justin Gaethje earlier this year, had to pull out of that fight due to injury. I believe he broke his hand. So here we are, two guys that at the top of this lightweight division, long layoffs, both dealing with injuries. In the past, rumor going around that Armin Sarukian is injured again going into this fight, something with his back once again. But that rumor is according to Dan Hooker, so who knows? Dan Hooker, of course, you know him, you love him. Fun fighter, big scrapper, awesome personality. Really, just kind of one of my favorite fighters going on in this sport right now. Dan Hooker's, and by the way, I love his 1 minute fight organization. I've watched all of those on YouTube, and those are fucking awesome. The 1 minute scraps. I'm about to start a YouTube page off the 1 minute scraps. Cover those because those are fun as fuck. Of course, before that, Dan Hooker was coming off that win over Jalen Turner, riding a 3-fight win streak right now, going into that. Armin Sarukian riding like a 6-fight win streak right now, I believe. His last loss was to Mateus Gamrot in another close split decision loss. And I suppose that's why the judges cut him some slack and gave him that Charles Oliveira win. I know that's not how it actually works, but in my mind, I like to make fun of that it does. How do I actually see this fight going? I think Armin Sarukian's probably just going to control it throughout with the grappling throughout the majority of this fight. He's very good at getting guys down, holding them down. Not a lot of submissions on Armin Sarukian's record, so I don't know if he's going to be able to submit Dan Hooker. You'd imagine it'd be a lot like Islam Makhachev versus Dan Hooker, where Islam just took him down and cornered him in the first round. But I don't know if Armin Sarukian is quite capable of that. So I'm going to go with Armin Sarukian by decision. I think he's going to win probably 4 rounds, something like that. Dan Hooker will make it exciting when he can, but it's going to be tough. Unless Dan Hooker's takedown defense really is improved. I mean, it looked much improved in the Mateus Gamrot fight, but that was just one fight, and I think Gamrot kind of wanted to make it a more exciting fight and paid the price for it. So I'm not necessarily a believer that Dan Hooker has this like incredible takedown defense and incredible get ups. I really hope he can implement his game plan and put a lot of pressure on Sarukian and end up getting a finish over him. But I just don't see that happening. So I'm gonna go with Arman Sarukian by decision. Fairly confident in it, but you never know. I'm rooting for Dan. Heart says Dan. Mine says Arman Sarukian. In your co-main event, Bilal Muhammad is taking on Ian Machado Gary. Bilal Muhammad coming in at plus 215. Ian Gary coming in at minus 290. Odds makers heavily favoring Ian Gary here. Bilal Muhammad, of course, coming off that title fight. His first title defense with Jack Della Maddalena, in which, of course, he lost that fight. Now, Jack is no longer the UFC welterweight champion due to his Makhachev, And then before that, of course, Bilal Muhammad beat Leon Edwards to win the UFC welterweight title. 2 UFC welterweight title holders in a row now that haven't been able to defend their title once. That's actually very interesting. Bilal Muhammad, of course, has the Canelo hands now, believes in his boxing. But will it be enough to stop Ian Machado Gary, who's coming off the win over Carlos Prates from earlier this year back in April at Kansas City? Before that, had his first career loss to Shavkat Rakhmonov in the main event of a pay-per-view last December. I forget which one that was. UFC 312, some shit like that. Whatever, doesn't matter. Of course, in this fight, Ian Machado Gary I feel like Shavkat kind of laid out the game plan here for Bilal Muhammad on how to beat Ian Gary. Control him with the grappling, keep him at bay with the striking, and just kind of hope you can squeak out a decision here because Ian Gary's a tough guy to finish. I don't know if Bilal's going to be able to do the same thing that Shavkat was able to do. I think Shavkat clearly has more attributes than Bilal. He has the length. He has much better striking than Bilal, and also probably a better wrestler than Bilal is. So I think Shavkat's just better all around than Bilal is. So I don't know if he's going to be able to do the same thing here. That being said, I do think Bilal Muhammad can get this done. I think we really need to see Ian Gary's grappling tested a bit more. Even in the Shavkat fight, like Shavkat was perfectly fine keeping that a striking match. I think if Bilal Muhammad is just diving for legs the entire time, is just really putting the pressure on with that grappling, with the wrestling, and gets him down and holds him down, I think he can make it a very boring fight, and that's kind of his path to victory here. For Ian Gary, I think he just needs to keep the distance with the striking, land a lot of jabs, some good kicks, and just don't get taken down. I mean, that's really the only goal here because he should be able to just outclass him on the feet. But I'm not entirely sure he's going to be able to. I'm going to go with Bilal Muhammad by decision. I'm not confident in it at all. The odds makers, when something's as big a favorite as Ian Gary is here, what was he? Plus 290? Let's go back here. What the hell was it? I think it was plus 290 minus 215. Or no, plus 215 minus 290. That was it. When you're a minus 290, the odds makers are definitely seeing something. And I think they're just noticing that Ian Gary is really good at keeping the distance and really good at not getting taken down. So, and I think, but they might be putting too much thought into the loss against JDM. I think Bilal definitely wanted to stand and kind of show off his hands more in the JDM fight, and I don't think he's going to be doing that here. So I'm going to go with Bilal Muhammad by decision. That's my pick, and I think it'll be a terrible fight if that is the outcome. It'll just be a really boring affair. So we'll see. That's going to be my official pick, Bilal Muhammad by decision. Not super confident in it. In your next fight, what do they call this one? I do this every video. Yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter. Volkan Ozdemir taking on Alonzo Metafield. Volkan Ozdemir coming in at minus 250. Alonzo Metafield coming in at plus 190. Volkan Ozdemir coming off the loss to Carlos Oberg from way back last year in November 2024. In which this was a pretty nothing fight, if I'm remembering correctly. I can't even remember the fight, so that tells you how good it actually was. Kind of one of those boring kickboxing decisions put on by Carlos Oberg, which he has a couple of on his UFC record, actually. The Jan Blachowicz fight and this fight in particular stand out. Anyways, before that, he came off a win over Johnny Walker, who's Johnny Walker kind of surging right now. I believe he's on a 2-fight win streak, so that's a really good win to have and a pretty recent win for Volkan Ozdemir. Volkan Ozdemir, of course, been around a long time. Got a title shot back in the day against Daniel Cormier back in like 2018. It's just the co-main to God. Why can't I remember? I think it was the co-main to Francis Stipe 1, if I'm remembering correctly, and in which DC just dominated this fight. Uh, Alonzo Metafield coming off a win over Omar Sy from earlier this year, riding a 2-fight win streak in 2025. So let's see if he can keep it rolling here. Alonzo Metafield, of course, huge knockout power. Was training with Pat Barry quite a bit. I don't know if that's still the case, but I like that for him. I think that really gave him a good kickboxing advantage and kind of made his hands show off a bit more. But I don't think he's going to be able to get it done here. I think Alonzo Metafield a bit too chinny to be able to stand and bang with someone like Volkan Ozdemir. Volkan Ozdemir, huge knockout power. So I'm picking Volkan Ozdemir. I'm going to go Volkan Ozdemir by KO round 2. In your next fight, Jack Hermansson taking on Mirtek Olabai. Olabai coming in at minus 265. Jack Hermansson coming in at plus 200. Jack Hermansson dropped down to welterweight for the first time in his career, at least his UFC career. I'm not sure if he fought at welterweight outside the promotion. Orabai coming in, or no, moving up to welterweight in his first time in his UFC career. I think he might have fought at a catchweight in a couple of fights just because he missed the lightweight limit in a couple of them. So a few of them were at catchweight. But good. I'm glad to see Orabai move up and go up to welterweight. I think that division suits him much more. He's a big boy, and I don't know who the fuck was telling him to cut all the way down to lightweight because he's way too big for all that. Jack Hermansson coming off that brutal knockout loss to RoboCop from International Fight Week, I believe. So not long ago at all, only about 4 or 5 months ago, and he got brutally KO'd, and now he's cutting all this weight. Yeah, seems like a bad idea in a fight that I think is actually very winnable for Jack Hermansson. I think Orabai is going to be looking for the takedowns, going to be trying to control him with the grappling, and trying to control someone like Jack Hermansson is really tough. Really good submission game from Jack Hermansson. Really good grappler in his own right. So I don't necessarily see a path to victory here for Orabai. I think it's going to be very tough. Orabai very young too in his career. So I think he's going to run into a wall here in Jack Hermansson if Jack Hermansson's healthy. Like, it puts a lot of doubt in my mind picking Jack Hermansson due to the fact that he just got brutally knocked out 4 months ago. Orabai, very good grappler in his own right, coming off a win, Kamara win, and then before that had that fight of the year contender with Mateus Rebecki, in which that fight was an absolute scrap. Go watch that if you've never seen it. But I am picking Jack Hermansson here. Not super confident in it, but I do think Jack Hermansson has the tools to get it done. I think he can. I think Orabai might be a little scared off from shooting so many takedowns of Jack Hermansson due to the submission threat. And Jack Hermansson's going to be a big boy, and he's going to be able to get up from a lot of these takedowns as well. So even if Orabai is successful in getting him down, I think Hermansson will be able to get back up. And then I think Jack Hermansson can do something similar to what he did to Joe Pyfer, in which he just kind of outpointed him on the feet, put a lot of pressure on, has very good defensive kickboxing, Jack Hermansson. So I don't see Orabai being able to make it a war of the feet or being able to control Jack Hermansson on the ground. So I'm picking Jack Hermansson by decision. In your next fight, Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Shamil Gaziev. Cortez Acosta coming in at minus 175. Shamil Gaziev coming in at plus 140. Waldo Cortez Acosta taking this fight on 3 days' notice. It was supposed to be Sergey Spavik fighting Shamil Gaziev in this main card opener, or the second fight on the main card, whatever it is. But got I believe Sergey Spavik got sick, I think is the case that they're going with here. And Waldo Cortez Acosta was like, "Hey, fly me out to Qatar. I will fight this man on 3 days' notice." And what a badass move from Waldo Cortez Acosta. Definitely becoming a fan favorite after that whole weird eye poke situation when he fought Delgi just a few weeks ago. I think this was only like 3-4 weeks ago, in which Cortez Acosta got eye poked in this fight. It looked like the ref almost stopped the fight, but they didn't. And then it was a whole weird thing. If you watched it, it looked like the fight was over, but then the ref was like, "Nope, fight's still on." Even though Waldo Cortez Acosta was like sitting on the stool, and then there's people coming in the cage, like Delgi won, and then the fight resumes, and he sparks Delgi immediately, and gets the dub, gets the first round knockout, which is pretty crazy because Cortez Acosta not necessarily known for having huge power in his hands either. So good for him having a hell of a resurgence, especially after that loss to Sergey Spavak from late last year, I believe, or that might have been earlier this year as well. I think that was this year. So yeah, like I was saying, Cortez Acosta, this is his 5th fight this year, so had a fuck ton of them. Shamil Gaziev coming off a win in his own right. I believe he's on a 2-fight win streak right now. He has that one loss to Derek Lewis, I believe, in which he fought him in like a weird main event somewhere. Might have been at the Apex. I have no idea. Um, anyways, Shamil Gaziev, of course, is the GOAT, the people's champ, the most memed fighter in the sport besides John Pork right now. I am picking Waldo Cortez Acosta. I think he's gonna be able to get it done here. Would be worried with a guy taking this on 3 days' notice if it wasn't at heavyweight, right? Like if a guy had to sit there and cut weight, get all the way to Qatar, cut weight, and then fight. I think that would be something to worry about. But with Waldo Cortez Acosta probably already weighing 265 and hadn't cut no weight, all he literally had to do was just get on a plane and get over there. I think it's going to go well for him. I think he's going to win a decision here. I think he's just a better kickboxer. Certainly just a better boxer, and I think that's where the fight will mostly be contested, and while the Cortez Acosta will win a decision. Don't think he's getting another knockout here. In the opener for the main card, Jorge Horiguchi is taking on Tiger Ulanbekov. Horiguchi coming back to the UFC for the first time in almost 10 years, which is absolutely insane. I forgot to write the odds, by the way. I believe it's plus 175 for Horiguchi and then like minus 205 for Tiger Ulanbekov. So heavy favorite for Tiger Ulanbekov here. Not super heavy, but you know, heavy enough. Which is interesting because I'm actually picking Horiguchi here. I think Horiguchi, one of the most well-rounded flyweights in the world. Of course, was the former Ryzen. I believe it's bantamweight over in Ryzen. I think he's the bantamweight champion in Ryzen. Has a win over Sergio Pettis not too long ago. Of course, has that brutal loss to Sergio Pettis. Probably is that already like 5-6 years ago. With that spinning back fist knockout. Anyways, he avenged that loss and is now riding a pretty good win streak, heading back to the UFC. 34 now, so I'm surprised the UFC made this fight. I wish they kind of just rushed him in a title shot, considering Kaya Sakura got a title shot in his UFC debut just last year against Pantoja, and I feel like he could have just done the same thing here with Horiguchi. But whatever, they kind of want to take it slower, do this kind of route here. I feel like if Horiguchi wins, you have an argument to just give him a title shot right after this. Tiger Ulanbekov coming off a 2-fight win streak right now. Looks very good. One of these guys out of the Habib camp, so heavy wrestler, gonna be looking to grapple. And I don't think he's gonna be able to get that done. I think Horiguchi has very good defensive grappling, very good defensive wrestling, very good defensive striker. I think the grappling will kind of cancel each other out, and the fight will be mostly contested on the feet, in which Horiguchi will win a decision. So I'm picking a lot of decisions on this card, but hopefully there's some good knockouts on the prelims. Here goes a look at the rest of the card. My picks are in green. People I think are going to lose in red. I also have the method of which I think they're going to win in the parentheses there if you are so interested. A couple fights on the prelims looking forward to. That Luke Riley guy that trains with Patty. Very interested in that. Alex Perez versus Asu Amabayev. Should be a pretty interesting scrap. Ilya Taporia's brother, fighting that guy that fought Umar in short notice. That should be an awesome fight. Gonna go with the Taporia brother, but not confident in that at all. And yeah, good card. Great card even. Starts way too early in the morning for me, but I will be watching. So very much looking forward to it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video, all that. I appreciate it. All right, we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.